Jon Sicotte, executive editor of the Brewer Magazine. Welcome to another edition of the Brewer Magazine podcast and the Cider Business podcast. We do like to delve in to the cider business as well, and you can read more at ciderbusiness.com. Of course, you can also go to brewermag.com. Make sure you're liking and subscribing if you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify. We always appreciate that you're keeping up to date with what's going on here in the brewing and cider world. Yeah, it's Cider Business. Once a month, we are delving into the cider industry as well. So we'll be talking about that in just a bit. We are sponsored by Square. Square keeps every corner of your brewery moving, from orders and payments to staff and data. Square helps you manage it all so you can focus on the good stuff. See how Square can help your business at square.com/good stuff. And we're also sponsored by Keg Logistics. You can go to keglogistics.com for more details. Well, at this year's CiderCon 2026 in Providence, I got a chance to sit down with Dave Takush, the co-founder and head cider maker at Towns Ciderhouse. We dig into the Oregon cidery's inflection points that helped transform Towns from a garage startup into a multi-state cidery brand, and the tough decisions that came with all of that growth. Dave shares how early bets on production, facilities, and team structures help shape the company's trajectory, and what founders often get wrong when scaling quickly, and how Towns evaluates which new products deserve real investment. We also unpack the competitive reality of today's beverage landscape, from fighting for shelf space against craft beer and hard seltzer to measuring the true ROI of innovation. And we talk about so much more as well. Let's go back to CiderCon in early February. I sat down with Dave, and it's right here on the Cider Business and Brewer Magazine podcast. This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency. We're joined here with Dave Takush of Towns Ciderhouse. Thanks for meeting us here on the Cider Business and Brewer Mag podcast. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Well, CiderCon ongoing right now. I know you got some speaking opportunities, so we'll keep it short. Save your voice. I'm already losing mine, and it's only been like 12 hours.
Sure, no worries.
Kind of just let's start from the beginning and some of the things that really have learned for you. You've learned from your 15 years of being a producer. Like, what are some of the stuff that you have learned that has maybe changed your perception of what being a small business owner is like?
Yeah, wow. Okay, well, the first thing, I think it's a piece of advice that my partner Lee at Towns, he and I sat in on a class at Oregon State University, and there was a winemaker guy, and the piece of advice that we took away from that was, he said, don't run out of money. Like, you will cease to exist if you run out of money, right?
It's a smart idea.
And I mean, it's like kind of like, I know it's a little simple, but like we've always, been like, well, we have to make sure that we're being conscious of how we grow cash flow, making sure we don't run out of money. And on the same side, though, I mean, you got to do what you're passionate about, follow your passions. And we really focused on quality, being a craft brand, and really embracing that, So that's kind of how we started. And then I think you were asking earlier about some like inflection points, right? As we grew from a 900 square foot garage, you know, and like a loan from Lee's grandma, we actually had one office computer for the three of us. My other partner is Aaron Sarnoff-Wood. So Lee and Aaron, they kind of had the idea for Towns, started Towns. And I joined right as the first batches were going. And it was all shoestring operation, right? Like we dug a computer out of someone's trash can, and that was our office computer. It was like a shoestring operation, And as we were growing, some of the things, we started knowing, like, efficiency. That's important, and there are certain limitations when you're really small, But we always aimed for like getting to the next level of efficiency, and You know, the big first real turning point, I think, was when because we were making all sorts of small batch, you know, crazy stuff just from our passions and love of cider.
Yeah.
And the first thing was, you know, we decided to put cider into a can.
Mm.
And I think if we were the first cidery to put cider into a can. I mean, at least on the West Coast,
Yeah.
you know. And you know, if we weren't the first, we were like at the same time as a couple other people. But you know, we were kind of following the craft beer model. Like we were craft beer people, and and we were kind of taking that craft brew spirit and applying it to cider, which is a very traditional, you know, product, right? It's got a lot of history. And so this is the time when like everyone and their mom was going from those big 22-ounce bomber bottles, you know, like which was like so ubiquitous in the craft world, towards cans. And so we kind of like went early with our cider towards cans, and it was huge for us. So like it really paid off. And so I think, you know, like the first thing there is like, you know, making sure you're meeting your customers' expectations, you know, giving the people what they want, right? The big thing. And like the next step in that of giving the people what they want was probably a couple years in, we launched a pineapple cider. And up to that point, right, we had done almost all apple only.
Sure.
We had done one Marion blackberry cider because that's like near and dear to our hearts of where we're from in Oregon. It's like surrounded by Marion blackberry fields. For those people who don't know, Marion berry is a variety of blackberry, but it's got a lot of red fruit notes, higher acid than a normal blackberry. It's bigger, and sometimes you might have had a Marion berry just called a blackberry, but that's the variety they grow in Oregon. And so we had done a little of that too, because it was a local popular thing. But then we were looking at the market, and like tropical fruit, you know, in beer also was like becoming a thing, whether it was tropical fruit actually or tropical hops, you know. And so that was like the next real inflection point where we had success from a small garage startup to actually getting in a can, and then starting to put like more popular, you know, like pineapple cider in a can. But the thing is that we still kept true to our craft roots, and so, you know, instead of using pineapple concentrate or a pineapple flavoring or something like that, you know, we were looking for the best of the best. And you know, we ended up getting this pineapple juice from Costa Rica, you know, fresh pressed, unfiltered, frozen, not even aseptic or anything like that. And that's what really kicked off like the real authentic profile of this pineapple cider. It was a huge success. And from then on, we were always kind of like, well, how can we innovate to like meet what the customer's wanting at this moment, you know? And like the next one was like imperial cider, right? Like, you know, we basically started this whole category of like high alcohol ciders. The Bad Apple cider we made in 2010, and I think that was like the first coined imperial cider. You know, we borrowed that term from the beer industry. And so that launched a whole nother level of like growth and expansion, right? And so the key takeaway here is kind of like all these inflection points come from innovation, right? I think that's really important.
What were the kind of those stepping stones? What years was it when, you know, you guys moved from the garage to a production facility to adding cans to like, I mean, because I think a lot of people like, oh, that's great, but like there's a time frame here. This isn't like we did this in 2010, we did this in 2011. There were years between this stuff, right?
Yes. Well, I would say all those points are probably about 2 years kind of apart, right? We had our 2 years of incubation in the 900 square foot garage. We moved to a 3,000 or maybe 5,000 square foot facility. Then we thought, oh boy, this is like the end all be all, you know? And that's about the time, you know, when we started, you know, getting stuff into cans, right? Switching away from bottles. And then, you know, another 2 years after that, we're making pineapple cider. And, you know, another 2 years after that, really, we kind of leveraged our original imperial cider to create a whole lineup of imperial ciders, you know. And so but gosh, it all seems like it went in a blink of an eye, so that's kind of like, that was kind of like those early years, and that lands us right about like 2015, which is really when craft cider as a whole really blew up across America, right? There's these pockets, certainly in Oregon for sure because of the craft brew scene, certainly in Washington because of the orchards up there, upstate New York, Michigan, all these kind of pockets started like growing and expanding with hard cider. And then really, we started creating this identity across the nation of like American craft cider. And before you know it, people in England are like popping their head up, going like, "What are these guys like making cider cool again?"
Right.
So that was an interesting time of growth and moving fast.
Sure. And speaking about that, since we were at the thing this morning, with Bart Watson from the Brewer Association,
Sure.
Monica Cohen talked from the ACA, and other speakers as well. The big thing is cider actually is in a good spot right now. How you've been around it, you've seen the like you said, the move up, the explosion. How exciting is cider right now in America?
Boy, it was certainly very exciting, and I think the one thing that we need to stop and just be aware of, though, before we get too excited, is that a lot of people are facing headwinds.
Yep.
And the alcohol in general contracting so much, and consumer behavior. You heard Bart Watson talking about like real drastic shifts in consumer behavior, not just kind of like trends ebbing and flowing. That's certainly concerning and putting a lot of pressure on a lot of people. And also raw material costs have skyrocketed. The cost of operating is skyrocketed. So there's a lot of headwinds, but unlike wine, craft beer, spirits, which are all kind of like going down, right? Cider is growing a little bit, and in this context is like phenomenal, right? So it is cause for celebration there. The theme of this CiderCon is cider's future, crafting cider's future. We keep saying it's cider's time, and I think it's like it's showing, right? So it's exciting, and I think there's like a real identity emerging. And what is even cooler is that there's like regional identities emerging, and no matter where you go in America, like there are apples, and every place is unique, and there are so many varieties that do better in different climates, or the same variety that express very differently in different regions. I mean, what a cool thing, right? I mean, in the wine industry, it's like, oh man, like, like it's just so standard to have Cabernet Sauvignon or whatever, and like, I don't know, and with the bigger production these days, there's less kind of regional identity, I think, than there historically was, and with like kind of like just the modern winemaking technique. And that's not to say that there aren't people doing really unique local terroir driven things, but like it's like already a part of the past, like it's happened already, and we're like in the moment now of cider becoming that, and that's my point, really. And so I can't wait to see what kind of like the next evolution of cider is going to be.
And it's you touched on it. Innovation has always been a key to you guys, which sometimes, like people say, if you're looking from the outside, it's just an apple. But there's so much you can do with it, and there's so many different ways you can do it, and there's so many things that you can add to it. You can have a different type of production, and you're all the same, but you all can be vastly different. Like, what are some of the innovations that you've really been proud of, and opening yourself up even to be a beverage producer, not just a cidery?
Yeah. Well, I think a good example is that pineapple cider that we did a number of years ago. And I can't say like I'm an apple nerd, and I can't say at first that I was necessarily like, like pineapple cider. That like I'm so stoked on that, right? I was like, oh sure, like I see the obvious value and demand for pineapple cider, right? But the reason I'm so proud of that is because when we decided we're making a pineapple cider, we were like, we're gonna make the best fucking pineapple cider you've ever had,
right.
with the best ingredients to our true craft brand. You know, like no, you know, melted gummy bear like flavorings or whatever. We were like, no, we're gonna make a real craft cider with the best of the best, you know, and it really paid off, right?
Yeah.
And so we've kind of taken that to heart as whenever we innovate, you know, we spend a great deal of time paying attention to the raw materials that we source, right? I can't tell you like how many different like mango puree samples we got from every region in the world, you know, like multiple processors, because we were like, we have in our head an idea of what the best mango should be, you know, and we just like just methodically searched it out, and we went through like 60 processors and like, nope, that one's too composty, nope, that one's too green, nope, that's not the right mango flavor profile, you know. And so I think that's like really important to make sure to remember as you grow fast. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, when you grow and especially grow fast, that like you have to sacrifice quality, and that's a falsehood. That is a myth. You have a choice every time. And I think the cool thing at Two Towns is that as we've grown over the years, we've made very intentional choices to like improve quality. Anytime we're talking about, you know, increasing production efficiencies or expanding or like new product development, we're talking about how can we make quality better, not just like, you know, oh, we're gonna like cut this corner or whatever, which I think a lot of people fall in that trap. And so it's like a really intentional thing, and you have a choice as a producer, right? And in fact, as you grow, sometimes you can really improve quality greatly, because now you're bigger, you can get better equipment, right? You can demand tighter specs from your processors, because now you're a significant, you know, player in their production line, you know, or as a supplier, and like there are opportunities to really leverage as you grow, and strengthen your quality instead of letting it slip away. You know?
Was there something like the first time that you actually got the kind of, I want it like this, and we're going to do it this way? Like, do you remember a line or you know, some kind of working with someone? Because there's a relationship in there too. Once you get to know your vendor, you can be a little harsher on them maybe, and say, nope, that's not what I want. I want this instead.
And this Brewer Magazine podcast is sponsored by Square. Square keeps every corner of your brewery moving, from orders and payments to staff and data. Square helps you manage it all so you can focus on the good stuff. See how Square can help your business at square.com/good stuff. And we thank Square for sponsoring the Brewer Magazine podcast. This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.
Well, certainly, you know, we've had a lot of great processor partners for, you know, like our fresh press juice and stuff, and that's actually a good point about. I think one of your questions you had talked about earlier was like what decisions did we make as, you know, we grew, some like key decisions, and one we decided early on was we want to focus on cider making. That's what we're good at. We want to focus on cider making, and it was a hard decision, but like, you know, we were like, we are so close to Central Washington, where all of these processors are already set up with the best and most efficient equipment that we could like never afford, or that would be a giant distraction for us, right? So we made a decision early on that we were going to source our juice, right? That gave us a lot of, instead of pressing it ourselves. And that gave us actually a lot of freedom. We weren't tied down with like cooler warehouses and like, you know, managing the pressing operation. But we did have to make sure to focus on like this is the quality we expect. These are the specs that we want. And as we grew, we were able to, just like you say, like demand those things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was like a really key decision for us as we grew. We said, like, there already are these systems in place, you know, and to be honest, my personal opinion is that, like, the pressing for in the wine world is so much more integral to the final product, and like, so the winemaker is there at the press a lot, like, to make those cut decisions and like make decisions on how they're processing those grapes. Because it really influences the final product. Like, in the cider world, we're all going for yield, right? Like, we're just trying to get as much juice out of those apples as you can, because especially like the heirloom apples, your rare varieties, whatever, they're expensive, right? And sometimes can be hard to find. And so we were very happy to have made the decision, like, okay, we're going to focus on cider making. We're going to let other people that have the most efficient, best equipment press those apples, right? Because they know what they're doing. It's already set up. The infrastructure's there. And yeah, so yeah, another great example of, like, as you grow, you can actually improve quality as you grow. Which is pretty cool. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the cider side of things, and you guys definitely are cider forward, but Craftwell is also a part of your company. You guys saw that in 22 and said, you know what, it's time to become a beverage company. I mean, what was that initial decision process, and how are things going with it, and just being able to expand that portfolio a little bit?
Yeah. Well, again, we've got a great team, like Aaron Sarnoff as head of sales, and then Lee Larson, our CEO. They are very strategic and intentional about where we're going to be, where we're going to play, what spaces. So we saw this opportunity for canned cocktails as a growing segment, and we thought, well, can we bring our personal dedication to quality and craft to the canned cocktail world? Like I already said, we are very good at sourcing fruit materials. Like, we have the best of everything. And so we're like, well, let's bring that to the canned cocktail world, where again, like, a lot of the products out there are somewhat disappointing because they're they don't even have the ability to use, like, real fruit, right? Or it's just like, if they're going to use real fruit, it's only concentrate, in a little bit. It's not the backbone of, like, that product. So we brought this, like, craft, artisanal, like, kind of mentality to it, and said, well, we're going to go into cocktails. We're going to make the best cocktail we possibly can, and rely on our experience and networks and fruit processors and brokers to, like, get the best of the best. And yeah, it's been awesome, really successful. And again, when we see wine down, beer down, spirits down, like, cider's up, and so are RTDs. And like, we're happy to be playing in that space, happy to be kind of elevating and the category with, like, really premium products, and they come with a premium price tag, but like, it's worth it. Today's drinker that might be drinking less, they want to make sure they're what they're grabbing off the shelf is, like, really enjoyable and high quality.
And it was important, I'm sure, to you guys, because Two Towns is a cider brand, to not have the RTD by Two Towns, because I'm sure, those are the ways that a lot of people associate you guys as a cidery. To be able to say, okay, we're going to have another brand. It's a family brand, but it's not like. Did you guys have that decision? Like, was it immediate? Like, this will be named something different?
No, we discussed it a lot.
Did you?
There's a lot of pros and cons. And I actually don't know if for anyone else out there that's thinking of that, like, with their own brand, I think it's a personal decision, and that there's not a right or wrong. I think there's a lot of benefits if you've got a good brand to using that same brand to make a new beverage category, or like going from cider to canned cocktail or something. And I think there's also there's advantages to not having it be the same brand. But you see a lot of cideries doing it, and even small cideries are doing it. I just talked to Molly Ledbetter from Merriweather, I think, in Idaho, and they're a small heirloom cider company and doing cool things. And
she was like, man, we got to make cocktails, and they're making cocktails out there too, and it can be really cool, especially the wine-based cocktails or cider-based cocktails can be really advantageous in certain states, yeah, and that have like more restrictive, liquor laws and stuff. Cool.
Going back to innovation parts that you guys have, how much stuff are you throwing at the wall in a boardroom or wherever you guys consider, where you're meeting, and will this work? How is it going to pay off? What's the ROI on it? Are you very much let's try it and see where it goes, or is there a lot of internal thinking before it becomes a part of the juice?
Let's see. Okay, so when we talk about like a new brand category, we do a lot of research. Like, are we going to move into this space?
Yeah.
And then, so that's like very thought out. But then when it comes to the flavor profiles, I mean, we, like, at my heart, like what I grew up doing is like home brewing. Like I'm a home brewer at heart. Love it. I love experimenting. And so we do a lot of like super fun stuff that tickles our fancy, that is we're passionate about, that we think is cool and fun, and that involves a lot of experimentation on the from the R&D lab team. We've got a pretty tight knit crew, and we do a lot of things, and sometimes you have an idea, you make the first version, and you're like, that's a winner.
Nice.
More often, you make like 40 different versions of 40 different things, and it takes forever, and you pare down, and that's not working, or go this direction, or what about this idea, and yeah, so like there's certainly a process, and sometimes it can be short, sometimes it takes a while, but then once we go to market with something, like we at that point believe that it will be successful because we've thought about the category, we thought about that, yes, this is a growing category, it's where we want to be, it's the space we want to be playing in, and then we say, yes, we've done all our due diligence for development, here's this awesome product, and we go whole hog into it. Now, does it always work out? But more often than not, it does. And I think you were asking about like how we measure that success.
Yeah.
And certainly, like for better or worse, at the end of the day, you measure that success with how well it sells.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about you. I mean, like you said, you kind of walked into a situation with Lee and Aaron, and all of a sudden now you're larger producer, 15 states. You guys, you have a large group of people now working with you, and what's it like going from like I'm an Apple nerd to I'm running people, I'm working with people, I'm creating a culture? How has that progressed for you guys?
Yeah, well, it's something we talk about a lot, actually. So we're pretty intentional in making sure, like we keep Two Towns spirit and culture alive as we grow and as we add more people. Now, that doesn't mean that it hasn't changed. I mean, certainly, like there is, it's inevitable that we will change as we grow as a company. But you can retain your values and like be intentional in how you grow and how you change. And so we talk about like how do we keep the culture of Two Towns, how we make it a good place to work. And I think what we're in the phase of now is really making sure that in the early days it was like just the three of us, or maybe like 5 or 6 of us, right? Looking at this tight knit company. And then we got more people on, but you still know everyone really well, right? And now, all these years later, like some of those people that you hired, maybe 10 years ago, well, like now they are like really the leaders and managers, right? They're the new leaders and new guard of management, and you need to be intentional about making sure those people have the skills and training to be managers and leaders. And so one thing we've been doing recently, which we got feedback as we asked people, like, what do we need in our company? What's it time for? And we got some feedback that, like, management training is actually would be really appreciated, and it's important, because you want to make sure that the people in your organization have the independence and to make those decisions and the skill sets that they need. And so we've been bringing in some, outside like trainers to help with management and, to help with the like management education, teaching and stuff. And so we've been doing some fun programs, and we've even started being more specific, where like salespeople are getting more sales-oriented management training and stuff, and other people in the company are getting other types of management training, and it's been quite successful, and I think well received. Just like with our products in our company, like in management too, like everything, like adapt or die. You gotta adapt. You gotta move forward and progress. I think we're doing that quite well, and that's led to a lot of success. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the last serious question, and then we'll end with some fun ones. Looking back, what would you tell other people that are maybe in that early stage still right now about balancing what it's like to have some rapid growth? Let's say that that they're hitting at a right time, and you kind of touched on some of this already. It's just keeping that quality and keeping your brand consistent.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, it's always a choice, and so I think you need to be very intentional about I know how it is when it feels like things are going a mile a minute, right? And just like things just like moving so fast, and you have to take a second to stop and be like, okay, like intentionally, what are we gonna do or not do? I think that's very important. Especially when it comes to the quality realm, and making sure that you have a good understanding of what you're intending to do, your values, like what is the objective here, and it can be hard. It sounds really easy, but it can be hard in the moment, and certainly following your passion is very important, but you have to temper that with business decisions, and making sure that you're making smart decisions, right? It can be tempting to want to sales are going great, let's build that new facility, but we have seen our peers, other people we know and love, and our friends in the industry do that, but then their sales plateaued before they get to where they need to be for that new build facility or whatever, and it's caused really cool companies definitely to go under over time. So you have to be cognizant of financial stability and decisions, and I'm very lucky in that I don't have to focus too much on that. We have got my partners, Lee and Aaron, who really that's their realm, and for me, I have the luxury of being able to focus on cider and development and quality control and innovation, and that's where I really thrive, and so I'm just happy to be doing that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for talking with us, but I always like ending things off with just some fun, get to know you, goofy, off-the-wall questions. So let's go with it. Would you rather clean all the fermenters right now at the main production facility, or one bathroom at a beer and cider festival?
Oh God! Oh, it's just all the fermenters, of course. That's not even a. This is not even a.
So you'd rather do more work than that one job?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially when you said after a beer and cider festival, ooh, no way. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no matter how dirty the fermenters are, they'll always be cleaner than a bathroom. So,
yeah. If you have to create a cider inspired by your high school experience, what style is it, and what's it called?
Oh, gosh. Okay. I hate to admit this. I probably shouldn't. But there was a period of time in high school where I did wear a puka shell necklace that had frosted.
This is where we'll put the photo up of it. You're sending me that photo, right?
Some bleached tips, maybe some bleached hair. I mean, that was cool back then.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it would probably be some sort of like Jack Johnson inspired like tropical cider or something like that. Something super cheesy. I don't know. Yeah. Like.
Am I giving you inspiration for the next innovative line?
Yeah,
Our high school years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Something with like. Something with like mangoes and like.
Guava.
Yeah. Mango guava something. And I mean, like, gosh, what was that in the early 2000s? So, I mean, what life was like.
It would be right. Then, it would be right in there. Yeah. All right, last one, because I know how popular cideroke is around here during CiderCon.
Oh, yeah.
What's your go-to song
for
karaoke?
Well, gosh, that's a tough one because I actually play in a band, but I've never done karaoke. So if I had to pick one, God, maybe like Uptown Funk, maybe.
Nice one. Can you get through? Like, would you like? I know some people like they only sing songs they know the words to. They don't want to sit there and have to remember what the words are.
I think I could get through Uptown Funk. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah. John, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having it or being on here.
Yeah.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.